when it comes to the old school era of tabletop role-playing games, and you go back to TSR, Dungeons and Dragons, the old school, not everything was spelled out for you. Everything was loose. Make it up as you go. Figure it out on your own. You would hear people advise you to try different games. And you might think, well, that's good for the experience, but okay, but why? Why? Well, I'll tell you on at least 2 different occasions why I found it valuable to go try other games. As a DM, I like the idea of doing sandboxes. But I would early on run into a few problems that other people would run into. And one of the core issues was having players not really know what to do. You put them in a sandbox, there's not a lot of direction right away, and they don't know what to do. At the same time, I'm trying to come up with plots or plot hooks on my own. Then I went and ran a game known as Traveler. And I discovered something. Oh wow, you don't make a plot or a plot hook, at least not initially. You don't make it right away. What you do is you come up with tiny pressures. Like things where the characters owe money, so they got to get that paid off. Or they got to get their ship repaired. Or they got to get a job. But either way, there's a reason. There's a pressure on them to do something. It's effective. And what you can do with these pressures is tie them naturally to a plot that you're going to see as things play out. You put the pressure on the players. Look, you can't stand around. You got to get money. You got to get paid. So the players feel that pressure to get their characters out the door, wherever they're at, and get things done so they don't get lost, so they don't get in trouble, etc., etc. Right? Well, I was like, wow, this is really effective. And it doesn't take much to look at what they're doing, look at the pressures I put into the game, and then slowly, through common sense, build a plot. Start looking at the bigger picture of what's going on and tying these pressures and what's going on with the characters to a bigger story. You can just see it as you are running it. It's not hard. It's actually pretty common sense. But I realized something. Oh wow. This is the method. The gimmick I need for the sandbox. I took it back. I put minor pressures on the characters. And guess what? It worked. They owed money. They had to get up and do stuff just like in a Traveler game. And for that reason, they'd be active. They'd get up and do stuff. Then I realized I don't got to make a plot. They would get up, they would be active, and I could just see things happening. I could build a plot. I could start seeing a bigger picture and make it up as I go. To the point where I would not need an underlying plot through the whole game. I wouldn't need anything. You can sort of just develop it all as you're going forward. And I found that was a way easier way, and you connect the plot to the characters. It has to do with the pressures, the things focused on them. So the plot just ties itself together, and it gives players freedom. They're not locked into a plot. They're not locked into anything. You can develop it around what they are doing. So they freely still guide the game. But what you're doing is using what they're doing and these minor pressures to build a plot all off of that, right? So you're not like pre-designing something where in a way you might have to somewhat railroad them into it. No, the idea of sandbox is you're giving freedom to players to do what they want. So why not just let them do what they want and then build a plot around their activity. I ran 2 games that did something unique as well. DC Heroes and Villains and Vigilantes. And I learned something very valuable from that experience that I took back to the game that improved my players' experience. It was called spotlighting. Now, we know about the spotlight on different characters, but it was a way, when I went over there, it's early in the hobby. Like, there's not a lot of talk on spotlights and stuff like this, but in those games, they did focus on it. And the idea in those games was, how do you take a Superman and Batman and make the game sort of equal, right? Because Superman is so strong, wouldn't he dominate the game? Well, it depends. You create situations where it's not all superpower that is going to solve the issue. But you make sure there's a variety. The situations might call for a little bit of power needed over here, but it needs investigation and other ideas over here. You lean into the character's special ability in both cases, strong or just like, say, smart, right? And then you need to measure out time. You can't spend all your time on Superman and that, you know what I mean, and then a little bit of time on Batman and vice versa. Time has to be split up pretty evenly. So situations might call for this person to go over here and do this, and the other person to go over there and do that. The spotlight means, if they both get it, it means pretty much equal time, but also equal reason to be there. Well, okay, Superman might be able to bust through the building, but what if busting through the building would be dangerous? You need to investigate. What if there's a bomb in there that can go off and hurt people if you're careless, right? So both characters, Batman and Superman, become important. Batman can investigate, find out about the bomb, how to make sure it's not going to be set off. Superman then can use, with that information shared, his power effectively to go in, get the bomb safely. The two of them work together. Both are important. They're, the investigation skills of Batman, important. Superpower of Superman, important. Both are equally spotlighted in the scene. I said to myself, wow, okay. Go back to the game in D&D and then go, okay, you made a cleric, you made a thief, you made a fighter. So I got to start creating situations where, there can be a reason for the cleric to be there. Not just be a heal bot, but to make sure stuff related to their deity, to their character in that way, is definitely within play, right? Something I put in on purpose. Make sure there's a reason for the thief to be there. Their skills, like picking this and picking that, and using their stealth in many different ways, becomes effective and is required and needed. But then also the fighter. Yeah, we're going to need some brute force here and there. And not just let the game be too random in a way of like, okay, let's hope they use their stuff. Let's hope the thief is going to be like a thief, or the cleric is going to try to play to their character. No, I would expect they would try, and I would hope they would. But I started telling myself, I got to be a bit responsible for creating situations that guarantee the parts of them that make up who they are can be spotlighted. And then get used to sharing time properly. Get used to timing. So it's like, over here, okay, I give you a few minutes. Over here, I might give you a few minutes. And make sure everyone's getting equal time, especially in a scene where the cleric has to go over here and do this. The thief has to go over here and do this. Not everybody's going to be glued to each other and just traveling in the same spot, right? Which would allow the characters to split up a bit if you're equal time, not carelessly, not stupidly. Not every situation is in a dungeon where you're always in danger, right? It can be in a variety of places, but just to make sure time is shared out right. And spotlight. And guess what? From the effort I made to make sure the cleric's stuff is in the game, the opportunities, and not just, I hope they take advantage, but really directed at them, or say the thief, or the fighter, or even the wizard. Make sure there's situations that really play to them. I might look at a wizard's limited amount of spells and make sure, due to their magic, there be situations where that magic in a specific way could be used. And I took on that responsibility. Regardless, it took a bit of work, but guess what? Players loved it. The wizard had a reason to have that magic and do that thing, right? And the magic was useful because I create situations where those spells can be used and be effective. The thief had more time than just being in a dungeon using stealth and other skills that the thief had. The cleric didn't feel like a heal bot, really playing to what a cleric is, the religious aspect of the character, doing prayer, having that mean something to them, and not just them trying to make something out of nothing. Same thing with the warrior. Every so often, a bit of brute force might be needed. And I focused on making sure everyone had a bit of spotlight time, right? Focus time. It changed how I run the games. It changed the player's experience. So, when they tell you to get out there and play different games, you can pick up a lot. I even look at new D&D and the newcomers to the hobby, and I say the same thing. New editions don't cover every detail or every idea out there or every method about how you want to approach the game, either as a player or a game master. There's stuff I focused on about character development. I ran this old game, Castle Falkenstein. It wasn't a big hit with a lot of people, but it made me focus on what you call controlled dialogue. Like, this is who your character is. You really got to roleplay to who that character is and not flake away from that. By not flaking away, by putting pressure on a player to actually play their character for who they say the character is from the get-go, the more you develop that character quicker, the faster, and the more you immerse yourself in a gaming session. Look, the faster you develop a character, the more you care about them. And the second you care about a character and you know who they are separate from you, wow, now it's like reading the novel and being interested. As long as that character is a nobody, there's no connection. So when you create a character by focusing early on who they are, building that up quick, and you start knowing who they are, you start getting into that novel experience of now you care about what happens to them, the person you developed. You become more immersed in a gaming session. Now you're worried about them. Now you want to make sure things go a certain way, right? That really does happen. It's a deep thing. And it gets you immersed into what's going on. It will keep you coming back to the table. And it makes you interested to know what's happening in their story, which you are helping guide. Imagine you could play the character properly in the novel. The one that you're addicted to. The one that gets you immersed as you're reading through the novel. This happens when you're playing a character that you know. Somebody you develop. Somebody is separate from you. But when you're just playing a character and they're just a character in a game, and you haven't got to that peak of development, it's not the same thing. It's not the same immersive feeling. You can have fun with that for so long, but you can flake out really easy in a game like that and not be as interested in coming back to that game right away. That's where campaigns might not get completed, things fall apart, and your passion isn't really there. You're there for a fun time. You're not there exactly in the same way that you would care about an individual. But when you develop a character, it's like developing a friend. It's like developing a real person. And then you want to know what is going to happen to them, and you get to help guide what is going to happen to them. And you really have this immersive experience when you're playing in a session with that character. Because you're focused on them, and you're so focused on them, somebody might have to poke you. They say your name, and you don't even catch it because you're focused on the gaming session. You're in. They got to come up and poke you in the shoulder. Hey, gee, because you're so focused like you would be in a movie, right? That's important. So playing and running other games taught me a lot of things. And I noticed the new generation especially doesn't get out there and spread its wings as much trying different games. There is value in trying other games. There really is. Because you could pick up these techniques, go back to the game that you like more, say the newer D&D, and put a positive spin. Effectively make your experience with the game better overall. Right? So try different games. Don't be afraid. Okay. I love you.